We join the salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. Do we have anybody on Zoom?
No,
Okay.
I don't actually publish them anymore. I thought we decided just to record it so we could post
Okay.
it, but
All right.
the public can come.
Okay. Before we get started, I would like to say a big thank you to the police, fire department, Chief DeShane and the police department, Ron Evans and the road crew, Dale Smith and his free crew, the private citizens of Effingham that come out and cut trees, people I don't even know. Country music. Yeah, and also I'd like to thank Jerry Agenti for taking all the crap that Ron's hauling there right now, so we don't have to pay to get rid of it. So from Board of Selectmen and bottom of my heart too, it was, makes you feel pretty good living in the town when everybody just pitches in and get her done. So, Tim Murphy just riding around following the road crew, Kevin in the loader, Murph cutting trees, Kevin pushing them out, couldn't that, and it went really good. I think every road in town that could be open was open Thursday night, so thank you. And thank everyone. I make a motion to approve the selectmen's minutes of July 12th.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. I would make a motion to approve the selectmen's non-public minutes of July 12th.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
All right.
And approve the work session minutes of July 19th.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. And the work session minutes of July 20th.
Second.
Then moved and seconded, all in favor?
All right.
We signed 2 intents to cut and 1 for a collection of yield tax. Make a motion to approve the manifest in the amount of $84,179.24. 25 cents. That's what it says, 25. Why did I say 24?
Just want to get it before you.
Okay.
Vote
Yeah.
on it. Second.
Then moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye. And in the mail folder, we had a decision of the BTLA, a report from NRRA, and also a report from NRRA on picking up tires that Bob's Tire that usually picks up our tires had a fire at his facility and don't know how long he's going to be out of commission. So they give us the name of somebody else. It's going to be too long. And we also had a thank you letter from the Red Cross for their donation that we voted on at town meeting. Town administrator, you have going on.
In the work session of July 20th, I had said I would call HEB on the Bailey Road if the easement's going to come in, and we had received the signed easement from the King property. I forwarded that to HEB, and she is sending me the original signatures, which I will forward on to the county.
And that was accepted by DES. So Chris told me that they okayed it.
So that's going forward, so I could not do that action item on that. We did have a property owner who was upset about their road frontage on Green Mountain Road. They finally provided a plan that gives them the ability to have a driveway. They have enough road frontage. The deed was worded very poorly, so that landowner is now happy. What do you want to do on the tires? Do you want either if you want to go with one or the other.
Are we right full? Or can we sell?
I think Mark said you have between 90 and 100 tires down there.
So we must still have room somewhere, right?
Right, I think he told me because last time it took months.
Yeah.
Had a facility tire.
Let me talk to Mark tomorrow, see how much more storage there.
And they also provided you with a copy of paperwork from your budget discussion, which department it is. And I think that's all I have specifically. I have to do quarterly reporting on employee taxes and do this week, the end of this week. And Darlene, all of her paperwork is back here, so I can meet some of the auditors.
What was the cons to the late payment for the state retirement system? We quite weren't going with it. Is it because of the every 2-week meeting and we couldn't get it in by?
No, that it's due on the 15th, and I had only paid the employee portion of it, not the employer portion. So that's why I manifest eroding with that. That's all I have.
What do you think about tires? You just want to have that new company come and get them? or-
We had such a problem with them some Bob's Tires trying to get drivers and everything.
Yeah.
I just not sure that even with once the fire's done, whether we're gonna be back to the schedule or not. And NRA is a big operation from that standpoint, so. There's
Yeah.
more
Is that
sense.
the only place that does it?
No,
So-
the BDS,
I mean, I think we should look into at least one or two others.
yeah, BDS is waste disposal. They charge $3.50 per tire, which is a little more than Bob's, but Bob's also charges us a fuel charge, service surcharge. I think it was $250.
Yeah, driving back and forth Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Right.
So to go with a per tire price, or they'll go with a bulk pickup, 10 tons and charge by the ton, 10-ton minimum. So, no, I thought it was a 10-ton minimum. Maybe it is. Yeah, minimum bulk pickup charge is 10 tons, so it's $1,900. Even if you had 100 tires, so. I think we'd be better off to go with a per tire price.
I believe we're charging $4 per tire at the transfer station for disposal, so it's still within the we're expecting.
Just the minimum number of tires is 50, so. Doesn't say anything about a fuel charge. Yeah. Go with that BDS.
Which is part of the NRA,
That is
Yeah.
what?
part of the Northeast.
The NRA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. So we'll go with the BDS company. Because it may be a while before they can get here. But
All I have.
okay. You have anything, Vicki?
Just a reminder about the hazardous waste collection. It's gonna be first Saturday in August. which is what, the 6th, I think,
Yeah.
They have these flyers at the transfer station telling what is accepted, what isn't. And for us, it is the Center Street Town Highway Garage where you can take your hazardous waste. If anyone wants one of these flyers, let me know. Other than that,
which is moving it back to the original location. Last year, we held it at the schools during the
Yeah.
COVID thing, and that's not happening. It's only going to be at the office.
or was it at the town hall? It was at the town hall last year. Us, the town hall.
Was it last year? I think?
Yeah.
One of the years.
Yeah.
But I
Not
had some
the
people ask me if it
school,
was
yeah.
still going to be down there in the
Yeah.
school.
Yeah,
No, no.
last year it was at highway.
All right, to hitch on Lenny's thank yous, from a standpoint of probably the best overall response to our situation, Eversource. I have never seen so many Eversource trucks in my entire life as we had in our town over a couple of days. The Red Cross folks, Lenny said, we got to thank you for the $250 donation. They received that on the 18th. We used it all and then some on the 21st. They actually brought in drinks and basically helped distribute to the road crews. Police department, fire department were distributing around to those folks too. And a big thank you for people that actually obeyed the closed road signs on 153. As a result of the people that didn't obey that, they actually basically destroyed the fiber optic internet cable that they kept driving over because they wouldn't follow the signs. So for the people in our town that did, thank you very, very much. Second item, we agreed earlier in the year with a revised L-chip agreement to allow us to do the powder post beetle work and the asbestos removal work. We have a project agreement with them, so this is a revision to that. I could not find the signed document that we did, so I want to make a motion tonight, put it on the record that I'll sign this and send it up. So this is money that is not costing the town anything. It's coming out of the, well, it is, the town appropriation of the 50 grand for powder post beetles, plus another $80,000 out of the historic town hall project, using some of the additional grant money we get in from Moose Plate as well as the Eversource grant to be able to complete the powder post beetle remediation project starting in September at the library. So I'll make that a motion to sign that.
One second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. Also, we got a note from HEB regarding the Bailey Road culvert. According to our contract, Dawson is allowed to submit payment vouchers, which they recently did. Under water, they did a water diversion, a precast concrete box culvert, guardrail, and mobilization, and they had different fees attached to all of those, adding up to $93,121.68. We have HEB as the gatekeeper and monitor to make sure we're following the contract and everything. And at this stage of the game, they actually qualify for a $3,500 payment. So I'd like to basically get agreement that we let HEB know they need to go back to Dawson for him to submit a revised payment voucher in the amount of $3,500. Vicky, any questions on that? Okay, good. Audrey, I'll send this note to Chris tonight, but I'll copy you on it, so we got a copy for the town file. And believe it or not, that's all I had this week.
Wow.
I think we covered everything that, I will have a question for JP. Were you in touch with FEMA?
Touch with New Hampshire Emergency Management.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for contacts back from them to get in touch with Stephen next. So I am working with them.
Okay. Because it's going to be an expensive storm.
It sure is.
Be nice if we could get some help.
We had a weather guy come in, a meteorologist
Meteorologist came
come
out
through
here,
town, okay.
and he works for a few. So
Okay.
meteorologist.
And any luck reaching the warden?
I just sent him another message while we were sitting here, and they've yet to receive those.
Because there's a lot of brush coming in. Yes. Okay. Vicky already made the announcement about the hazardous waste, so you're on, JT.
All right, so I finished logging the calls we had just with dispatch, and I was at 37 calls in a 2-day span. The guys in the trucks started logging their own calls because dispatch was too busy, so I expect that number to probably double once we finish processing all that. So it was a busy couple of days for us. We had quite a few people from our department out. We had all of the police department out helping. So big kudos to everybody that came out and helped out. Like you guys have already said, Red Cross was huge, Eversource was huge. Spectrum was very quick getting out as well. Consolidated was the only one that called. I don't know how many people saw it, but there was a big satellite tower truck at the library. So basically that is a mobile cell phone tower, and that's run by FirstNet. So that provided the responders that have FirstNet cell phones and some of the town phones and things like that, cell signal so that we could communicate with each other during the storm. That made a huge difference for us, but the bigger benefits of that, anybody with any cell carrier would have been able to call 911 on their phones in that vicinity. So with the landline telephones being down, that was a big benefit for us to have. That is free of charge to the town for us to have had that year. They provided it to us for the week, should we have needed it longer. Thankfully, all the services are back up, so we were able to let that go. But big kudos to them. You know, I requested it; it was here within 4 hours. So that was a pretty big thing for us to have. It definitely helped us as first responders communicate amongst each other. Again, reiterating the road closures. You know, I saw plenty of people that just drove right by the signs; like they weren't even there. We close roads for a reason. It might be because we're working in them, it might be because the lines are down. Just trying to obey the signs. I know it's inconvenient, but we're definitely working as hard as we can to push everyone to keep the roads open. And along with that, a lot of people were helping cut trees, which is a great thing. You know, that really helped out the town crews and stuff. But just remember that the power lines are not safe to touch, even though you know no one has power. Someone might not hook a generator up right, and that can backfeed into the power lines. There's so many what ifs with lines. Just want to caution everybody on that. So overall, I think the storm went really well. We had a great response from everybody. Unfortunately, we were the only really hard hit town right in this area, so we were kind of isolated. I think that's why we got as many resources as we did from Eversource and things like that. So I am working up the chains with FEMA and the state to try and get some reimbursement. So that's all I have on the storm. I was able to secure $44,000 from the ARPA funds. That little for grant that came out. We got the award notification, I think it was last week or the week before. So I believe you guys all received copies of that now, along with the budget for the different items that I proposed in the grant. So I'm not sure what our next step forward for accepting that grant is.
Is this, you have to show that money being spent?
You do have to show the money being spent, and they reimburse the money.
Where are we gonna get the money for that?
So that's going to be the hard part. I think Audrey had a plan as far as making the line item in the budget.
Chuck, you probably remember, they go for money during 2020 for COVID prior to me getting here. And there were specific forms, you had to do the expenditure, fill it out, fill out the form, and get a copy of the receipt. And as soon as JT and I worked together to do that, those expenses will come out of the fire budget and be put into a GoFor grant and offset below the budget line item. Town plan.
Okay.
We identify the form, we'll log in and do it.
Was the list of what you wanted to purchase in there? I didn't see that.
I didn't give you a copy of.
I just, so what, okay, what are some of the things you're gonna, you don't need to give me the list, just tell me some of the things you're gonna.
So we requested a turnout gear extractor, which is a large commercial washing machine that allows us to safely wash our fire gear without damaging it. Just putting it in a normal washing machine that's actually pretty bad for it. So this will safely wash our gear, remove all the cancer-causing junk from our gear after fires and things like that. Historically, we're having to go borrow other departments' washers for that, so we'll be able to do it in-house, which will decrease our time out of service. Along with that, a specialized dryer for the gear that dries it quick. Prior to, we were hanging it, which would take a few days to dry, where with this machine, we can dry it in a matter of hours. A new residential washer and dryer, just a simple washer and dryer, so that we can wash our own uniforms and things like that after we're going to calls and getting gross, both with fires or COVID or whatever it might be, we can actually keep on ourselves before we go home to our families. Some vehicle mounted radio repeaters, 4 of them. So that will allow us to take the signal from our handheld radios and the truck will boost it at 100 watts so that when we're in our dead spots, we'll actually be able to communicate back and forth with dispatch and other people. A new mobile radio, a couple new portable radios, and then 3 sets of turn-up gear.
Question. Do any other towns in this area have these washing machines and dryers?
Most towns do.
All of them? Zosky have it?
Center Osby.
Sorry. Sorry.
Center Osby does that.
Center Rushing again, Wolfboro?
Yep.
Really? Never heard of it.
It basically looks like what you see in a laundromat, like the big commercial washing machines.
Like the old big boys. Big boy washing machine.
No, I never went to one.
Nothing. What you do?
Never had the pleasure. No, we had the ringer. Okay, wow.
And that is all I have.
So one of the questions I have based on the last time you were in and we were talking about your monthly reporting. Vicky, are there any specific things you want to see on that report when he designed that? So we've got a consistent look coming across. Beyond what he's given us in that printout, is there anything else you want on there?
Right.
You don't need to answer it now. I mean, it's-
Yeah,
Right.
I'd have to really look at it again
Okay.
and see.
If you would, because he's gonna have
Yes.
programming done on that form, so it can be automated to a
Okay.
degree.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that we've got everything, and
What
you've got
we need
everything you
on it.
want on it.
Yeah, if
Okay.
there's anything you're not seeing that you want to see.
Okay.
Anything else from you?
One last question. So did we have a crew in station the other day when that happened?
We did actually.
So they were the ones that were cutting the tree right outside
Right
on
at
the
end
road,
of
right
town.
at the end of, okay.
Yeah, so we actually were dispatched to Elm Street for a tree on a vehicle with somebody in the vehicle that was injured by the tree falling. And they couldn't get any farther than Townhouse Road. So we ended up having Ospey Corner come over and they handled the car accident for us while everything started to happen. So unfortunately, we were completely blocked in by all of the trees down on Townhouse Road. And it all began, so.
So I know I mentioned this to you the other day while you were out there, but I want to reiterate it. So our emergency management plan has this room as the emergency plan. Based on what happened last Thursday, this room would have been useless for the most part. So one of the things, and you basically have been in, like me and the fire chief, we've dedicated the fire chief having the responsibility of keeping that up with Lakes Region and other people. I'm thinking we ought to revisit that, to take a look at it and maybe make that station down there on Province Lake Road a second capability, so primary here, secondary there,
Absolutely.
and then just make sure it's outfitted, so.
The downside to down there right now is as soon as the lines go down, we lose internet. So you're in a black hole. You have no phone, no cell phone, nothing.
I'm
No
good,
communication other than radio would be on cycle. So that's the only downside to being down
but we gotta think long-term, so First Net may get here in a year or two, we need to start planning on
there. And in
this.
that case, that's the perfect place for us.
Thank
I
you.
do agree. I think we should visit that.
And I heard there was a problem with the generator, putting fumes into the station.
Yeah, so sitting in the office trying to do a little bit of computer work and start to get a headache. High levels of carbon monoxide blowing into the building from our generator. So we have reached out to the generator company. They're going to come out and they're just basically going to extend the exhaust pipe up above the little lean-to roof. And that should hopefully put it up high enough that it'll blow away from the building rather than just sitting up against it. yeah, that was a little interesting for us. We couldn't really run the generator for long periods of time because it was just absolutely filling the whole building with carbon monoxide.
Not a good thing. You have detectives in there?
We do. The detectors, the household detectors don't go off until they hit some pretty high numbers, and it hadn't been long enough to those high
Yeah.
numbers, but it was enough that I was able to feel it. I was starting to go. So,
Anybody in the public have questions, JT? Oh, me?
No, the board.
Oh, the board? Oh, we'll get to public comment. I didn't know if somebody wanted to ask JT a question. Guess not. I have nothing more.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, members. Okay, open up public comment. Mr. Thompson.
That's right. You get a chance to get stood up. Don't get over it, it's not worth it. I just got an intent to cut for you. On the Lucas instruction. I can leave that with you.
Okay,
Sometime make a copy and leave it in the office and I'll pick it up. And as soon as the paperwork comes back from Concord, we're gonna start,
okay.
whenever that happens to be. Probably 3 weeks anyway. So we select the cut. Okay?
Yep.
You got any questions?
No.
No, we'll just process it and sign it and let you do your
I'll
thing.
get out of here and let other people have a fall.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Chris.
Christina's 120 Bowie Road. I'm glad the chief's still here. I do have questions that I'm sure he can answer. But you know me, I'm a stickler for procedure. And I think that all things should be through the board, so that's why I didn't speak up when you offered that before. And now I have more than one I came in with because of some comments. Just a quick question for clarification, unless things have changed. Is there a kitchen at the fire station?
yes, there is.
There is. Well, somehow they get put back in there, because last time they got taken out, which made it unable to be a shelter, so that's good. Can you say everything you said before to remind me what I wanted to ask?
Was it related to the building?
Yeah, yeah. So the shelter thing. Yeah, first of all, let me just say you guys did a phenomenal job. Thank you very much for your hard work. My timing seems poor to come in with any questions for the fire department, given what you all went through, but we meet every other week and I missed the last meeting, so I haven't been here for a while, so you'll have to excuse me and forgive me for bringing these things up. So try to stay on task with what I wanted to ask. The first thing, the fire department in the town has purchased a chief's vehicle. I'm gonna call it a chief's vehicle, a secondary utility. It was formerly North Colony Fire Precinct vehicle, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
It's not a chief's vehicle, but you're correct on the
Or
vehicle.
utility or whatever. So, given the cost of diesel, despite the fact we're a municipality, tax exempt and yada, yada BS, I'm thinking that that vehicle would get better fuel mileage than a fire truck that's been utilized on multiple occasions. I'm around the radio all day long. I work for a highway department. I think everybody knows what I do. I listen to the calls. One of the latest ones that prompted me to be here tonight to ask this question was at 63, 153 North. Engine 1 signed on to go to that medical aid. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that our contribution to the ambulance contract is in the excess of $100,000. Correct?
Right.
So on top of spending $100,000 for the ambulance, we have no intentions, we being the town of Effingham have no intentions on transporting that patient unless it's a mass casualty incident, and then all things are out the window. So the ambulance is coming anyway. I don't see why that vehicle is not being utilized for medical aids as opposed to a fire engine. And I did that job for 24 years, so you can come up with all the scenarios that you want about, well, if you're on the other side of town, if that's a duty crew and another call comes in, this isn't New York City, it's the town of Effingham. Everything is growing, I get that. But we don't have to go from 5 to 500 overnight. I don't think that that needs to happen. The gear thing, I get it. The carcinogens that are in your fire gear, that we took home for many, many years to our families, that are on our turnout gear, that stuff has to be washed out. That is a lot of money for the town of Effingham, for the call volume that we see. Yes, it only takes one time, I get that, for you to go to a fire. We've got all of these plastics and things that are in buildings now that didn't exist when the gentleman that was just sitting in front of me was the fire chief. Things are different, I get that, but Center Ospey, I still kind of turn, I do apologize, Center Ospey does have an extractor in their firehouse. Unless something changed in the last 24 hours, they were the one town out of the 3 Austin precincts that had an extractor.
So you got the point that we're not paying for this out of town funds, right?
Well, it sounds like we are, and I'm a little
No. it's-
curious.
It's a grant. Yeah.
It's a grant, but I believe we have to spend the money first and then we get reimbursed.
Several weeks later, yes.
Well, we didn't vote on that at town meeting to spend that money, right?
We didn't last year when we did, or when we had the COVID thing with the Gopher money. We were spending a lot of money out of the town budget to satisfy that, and we got it all back.
Right, my only concern is this.
But we didn't vote it up front, Chris. We
Yeah.
didn't vote to spend it because.
I get that, but my only concern is this, you gotta, I'm the layman sitting in the audience and one of my selectmen said, where are we getting that money from? Because you gotta spend it first and then we get reimbursed. Well, if it didn't get budgeted, the money's not there. So where are you getting the money from to do that? If we didn't vote on it. So where's the money gonna come from so that we can be reimbursed? That poses the question. We're gonna rob Peter to pay Paul and sneak it back in? Because that sounds like some shifty bookkeeping to me that I'm pretty sure is, borderline not legal.
You got a good question. We did, when we had the whole COVID thing blow up on us for that 15, 18 months, nobody even asked that question. But I see where you're coming from. It's a good point. And I'm thinking we ask the town administrator, to ask the CPA how we properly account for that on the books.
I really don't mean to be disrespectful, make any insinuations. I just, when I'm sitting here and I hear the board say, where we get, well, that kind of, it's like, oh, that's a red flag. So it can be all legit. Obviously, I know how the ARPA funds work. Everybody's getting them. Our nonprofit organization got ARPA funds, right? So, it's a good thing. And if there's no such thing as free money, it's all taxpayers' money, right? Whoever the administration was, could have been Bush, Obama, Trump, whatever, but somewhere down the lines, a long time ago, that money was still taxpayer money. They didn't print that and say, this is set to the side for rainy day funds.
And when we did the COVID thing, it was basically whatever was needed out of the fire department or police department, it came out of their normal budget. And we basically applied the money back into, because it comes into the town and general fund. Budget committee looked at it and said, okay, we're even. We can't actually put it back into their budget because of what we approve at town meeting. But it does get added up to make sure that the town's not losing anything.
So that's good. It's just that, the next question I have is,
Hold on, can I ask you a question?
you sure can.
So you asked a question about the vehicle that we just purchased.
Yes, sir.
And you brought up a number of points, which JT actually covered with us a week ago around the use of that vehicle. So I'm thinking you might want to ask him what his plans are for the use of that vehicle based on some of the things you just brought up.
Okay. I'll do that at some point in time. I'm not necessarily this is the best
Well,
time to do it. Time for everybody else's time. Because I'm guessing you guys, is anybody else have that question? You guys all want to give up your time now to discuss it?
We heard it, we heard what he had to say. and
I can put it
You know-
simply,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I do,
You don't have to-
I do.
Chris, exactly what you said is like to use the vehicle, for medical calls and things like
Is to use it for that?
that. That is correct.
Okay. So
So
when is that gonna be implemented, sir?
it's in the shop at the moment.
Okay.
It would be right now.
Very good. Thank you very much for that. My next complaint, concern. So the last heavy rainstorm we had Champion Hill Road got washed very hard. There's just one road I'm gonna mention. The sides of the roads still, to this day, obviously, we had a natural weather storm come in, disaster, I'm gonna call it, for our county, right? There are sections of the side of the edge of that road that if somebody got off, they would do some serious damage to the vehicles. And it still hasn't been addressed. There was gravel left in the road where they got washed from those shoulders, where the pavement got undermined. And thankfully, there weren't any motorcycle accidents that I'm aware of on that road. The only reason why I bring that up is I know we don't have a highway department. We don't have a tremendous budget like my employee does. I get that. Last night when I came home and I went by Jack Russell Road and saw that that road had been attended to, and that's at least the 7th time in 2022 that I've seen heavy equipment doing work on that road, where they're, not that they're not just as important as I am, because they are, but there are 2 residents on that road. And that road got worked on yesterday or the day before again. Whether it was from the washout from the rain, it doesn't matter. It's a secondary road. My road goes months and months and months without anybody even coming up to see. I cut the trees out of my road, except for the ones that are on the power lines, because as the fire chief said earlier, you don't know somebody's backfeeding with the generator. So I wasn't about to touch them. I wanted to, because they really needed the help. And so did the Evans Brothers employees that were out there and the other volunteers. But I do the lion's share of the work on my road. I clean the culverts with my own backhoe. Somebody's got to do it. Might as well be me. It saves the town money. It's my road. I'm there. I have the knowledge and I have the equipment. I think if everybody in town got the brush clippers out, maybe got a trimmer out and did the edge of their road in front of their property, it would save us on roadside mowing and things of that nature. It's a community. I think that's one way for us to save money. Having said that, though, I do that because nobody else is doing it on my road. And that's fine. But there are, every house on my road now is a year-round resident. Every single house. Except for one. And it doesn't get nearly the attention. 7 times. You can't question it. I drive by it every day, 2-3 times a day. I drive by Jack Russell Road. And to see that road got worked on again. And there's a resident, I'll sell them out right now. Tracy and Bruce Cragen said they're gonna lose their mind if they see the grade go up that road one more time for 2 year-round residents. The amount of money and attention that that road gets.
I thought it was the house that was across from Bruce Park, and I thought they were doing their driveway. I didn't know something was.
The road itself is fixed.
I don't know
I'll
who
go
did
with
the
you.
road, because
I,
Ron's been cleaning up for the last 2 days. And
I know
they're
Evans Brothers
down
have
on-
been cleaning with the excavator. They
Yes.
started yesterday. picking up
Kevin,
trees.
Kevin's been hauling the juries, so hasn't been Kevin in the grader, so. I see somebody had worked on it, but
I
I
know
don't,
there's a
I don't
house, you
believe
know
it's
the
the
house
town
right
road.
across from them.
I do, yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
doing a driveway.
And even if
or
they
something.
did, that means it's not 7, it's 6. 6 times that road was treated and graded.
But this is a personal house, not.
No, the road itself, Jack Russell
Yes, I
Road.
didn't know.
Because every time that I saw it, I'm like, are you kidding me? And I'd drive up to Jack's house where the turnaround is, and I'd turn around and I'd say, yep. And mentally take a note. And one day at a horse pulling thing, I saw Bruce and Tracy Cragen, they lived right across the street, and they said, if they see the grading up there one more time, they're gonna smack. Because there's 2 year-round residents. It gets an awful lot of attention.
So what I'm hearing is you'd like us to sit down with Evans and
Or
we
whoever calls the shots on who and what road gets fixed when.
well, discuss a priority kind of schedule for
Because I
how important different roads are based on the volume of use.
tried to be polite the last time when I discussed roads and the application of calcium chloride. And I felt it was strange the way that calcium truck bounced around the town. The reason I was given was the amount of gallons that they had to the amount of miles that they could do. I get that. But if they started out a well-traveled road that was 3 miles long and they can only do a mile, they can only do a mile, you pick up from there, do it all the time. I put out 7,000 gallons of calcium chloride today myself. Myself, not my town, myself. I drove a calcium truck today. You can pick up right where you left off. You don't have to bounce around town to do that. So it just makes you wonder, it's like, because you gotta grade the road before you put the calcium on. We've been told that many, many times by the contractor, by the agents, by the board of selectmen. They have to get the road ready before they do it. So it's not just that the calcium truck said, I can only do a half-mile road. Where's your half-mile road exist? So they skipped over to Jack Russell Road. Well, does that mean they applied that half-mile, that calcium chloride on a road that wasn't prepared? Of course they didn't. That road was prepared. So that was thought of ahead of time. Before the driver said, I only have enough to go up. You know what I'm saying? It's. So whoever lays out the plan of what roads find priority and not. It's.
Time to have a discussion.
Well, I do know Ron tries to get as much road graded for a whole truck, but this time it was hard to get calcium, so we were sharing a truck with Freedom.
Yep.
So that truck coming from Freedom only may have 1,000 gallons on it. And it could have weighed into his decision as to where he was going to calcium.
I get that, but again, the road has to be prepared for that calcium, before you knew you had that 1,000 gallons left.
Well, he had like Nutter and Granite and Puff Road was all prepared, and then we couldn't get any calcium.
Yeah.
So by the time the calcium was available, it had to be graded again because it went all to Washboard. It's not all of, where the guy wants to go work. I think it's when we get material available, ways into it. So, and as far as Champion Hill, yes, Ron's been made aware of it, and I reminded him. That get washed out, cemetery get washed out. But like I said, we get this mess and we're trying to clean it up right now.
And I understand all of that, I do, it just, and it may have been a private citizen, just like myself, as I admitted to myself, that I've done work on Moody Road myself. It could be the contractor that was working right there, putting that driveway across from Bruce and Tracy, adjacent to Jack Russell Road that went up the hill, but from a layman's standpoint, you sit there and look up there and it's pretty well taken care of. And, it would be strange to think that they paid a contract. I'm working on my own road in my own town. They're paying a contractor to work on the road. Maybe they paid that contractor to do the fix part of Jack Russell Road. Maybe they did. That would be fantastic if they did, right? If everybody in town did that, our taxes would probably be a lot less. Yeah, just some concerns I have, so.
I'll check with Ron, but I'll almost guarantee it wasn't Ron's crew that worked on Jack Russell Road.
And I mean, Champion Hill Road, I get it, but it comes to a point when, well, we'll get to it, because that road's washboardy, that road's rough, and then the public safety thing. I don't think, even the fire chief sitting here, I don't think that he would disagree that having loose gravel all over a paved road is, on especially Champion Hill Road, it's not a flat road. Very steep road with sharp corners, and somebody from out of town comes through on a motorcycle, go off the bed, or even a car, and that's not even going to the point of the ditches. And, you drop off in a couple of those holes, and it's going to hurt your vehicle, no matter what make and model it is. So, thank you for your time. I think that's it, but we'll see. I'm starting to get old too. Like Dickie said, don't get old. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? I could count on you, Mike.
Yeah, well, I came in for a reason. I got some stuff for probably really Chuck, I guess. I don't know. You weren't at that meeting that we had a group of people come in for. I saw your name on the
No.
list.
No, I was tied up on Green Mountain Road.
Okay, so this is some of that information I told you I'd get you. It gives you the waste management dimensions for dumpsters and the truck when it's loading, unloading, well, it's just length. That was the rough sketch of what Lenny and I actually had worked on a few years ago when we did the pad dimensions, because it will fit with the trucks. Can explain how that works later. And I've got some other sketches that Tom Lunan had some of his students over at the high school draw up. That was to cover the glass originally. And the heights were in there so that when you give enough distance to pull the truck forward a little bit before you start raising that dumpster, and that's when you could, clear the elevation of the roof stuff. But that was some of what we had talked about. I also had some RFP requests for proposal information that's changed by now, but you also had the East Coast had given us a proposal a while ago, so that was a few years back. Sidebar note, that's a health thing on foods. When you're selling, basically around the state, there's a food truck delivery service coming through. And that's just basically the rules of the road for permitting and what they should have. So if they're showing up and going door to door, there was some concern on the health officer's kind of email website. I would probably provide one to Joe.
Have we got any vendors doing that in town?
Not that I'm aware of. It was just a kind of a thing where a whole bunch of towns up our way, more to the west, had kind of been having an issue.
I've had them stop at my house and fast.
Yeah.
They're riding around with a test freezer in the back of the pickup.
So there are some requirements and there are some permitting stuff that they need to have. Should they not have it, it wouldn't be a good practice. So that was just general information for the board. I'll probably give something to Chief Duchesne, just to be safe.
It could be a state. State put it off.
Anybody?
I was gonna say, just on another note, touching on what Chris was mentioning before about funding. I'm not sure how the ARPA program is working this year. There was an acceptance of funds in the past. If we got the funds before you spent them. But I would think if you're talking to anybody in NHMA over there for the finance office, there's a good likelihood that since there's a line item for equipment at the fire station, they could spend under that line item, even if they exceeded it, received the grant later and paid that basically back, or covered that, as long as you close your books out by receiving that money at that time. That would be what I would suspect. Just to give you an avenue to ask about when you talk to anybody.
This is a gopher grant. I don't know if that's any different.
We did gophers before.
That was the one we used.
Yeah.
I think that you're gonna find there's a provision to actually expend funds, given the commitment. I can't swear to that. But you have a line item.
I don't know if we have the same paperwork. We had a ton of disclosure stuff from the state that we originally got around that whole first thing around what we could do and how we could do it.
And as long as you don't break out the bottom line budget at the end of the year, it's a bottom line budget. But you would have an opportunity to recruit the closing books.
Dave?
What is the BTLA?
Bureau of
Land
Tax and
Tax
Land
Appeals.
Appeals.
So the decision on that is what happened?
That was a request by Davy Strauss to abatement on his taxes.
So that's
Which he didn't get.
right.
Yeah.
Mike, you want to answer?
Yeah. With the modular, if Dave and I are gonna set up shop out there, we're gonna need to be able to have access for that. So if we can get a key to access the modular for setting up a desk, getting some computer access, and start keeping some files in there for the help.
Audrey, do you have keys for that?
I do, and as we know, a lot of people use that space. The computer out there, I can set up an account. I can have the IT folks put a partition on the storage, the server basically, and a username for the computer, and show you what people have the files on the server. And I think there's a file cabinet out there with keys that we can move around. So let me double check. I know I need to have a few extra keys made out. Have keys for all buildings, extras for all buildings. So, you want me to reach out to you, Mike?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So Mike, once Audrey sets that up, so you've got your own email login or your own login piece.
Yeah.
That is specific to only the health department,
Right.
and only the health department could access any of the information in that petition on the server. Because it's a commonly used computer, do not walk away from the computer and leave the screen open.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta make sure each time you're done, you fully log out.
Not a problem.
When the IT company was here last week, one of the things they did was audit the backup. So, confirm that everything's backing up to the cloud. You see that on the IT bill you signed today that we have. I think it's like $20 a month that we pay for offsite storage, so everything gets, record retention.
Oh, while we're on the health office, sorry, I think, Vicky, I wasn't here for it, but I think originally you had a concern about the health minutes being posted on the website, Board of Health minutes, is that you? Somebody said that. Well, whoever, the minutes were prepared in time, but at $5 a gallon, I didn't run them down, but they were available upon request. I could
Oh,
have
yeah.
digitally sent them to anybody. I haven't charged for mileage for things I've done for the town for the last, God knows, year plus. Whatever. So I brought them in the following week when I came in here to do some business. Beyond that, though, we hadn't voted to post them as a board on the website, but even if we had, it's always been the practice, in my view, boards I've been on, not to post things that are in draft. Like right now, I know I touched with basically Jim Pittman on the CBA, because there's some things from like early 21, 2020 that got posted in a draft form, and still hanging out there. So until they're approved, I wouldn't necessarily think it would be the best idea to put them on the website, because you end up forgetting them, and you don't confirm it, you know, approve them. So I just wanted to clear that up. I know minute retention has been a problem. Back when you were on the budget committee, those minutes are gone, they should be retained. I know that sometimes boards don't get them in on time, but we try. There is a book set up, so I put a book in. Wow.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Nobody else, I remember a couple of things. So I meant to say last time I was here, econosign.com is one of the places we order signs in town of Boston, econosign.com. That's another cheaper avenue. And if you buy enough, there's no shipping. And the other thing is, you folks in the fire chief, I heard the question asked about, were you aware that the forest ranger for this district is on medical leave?
That was not.
Okay, so I meant to tell you that already, and I forgot. I meant to tell you that to pass along to him. So in the Albany fire, Conway fire, he hurt his leg, so he's on medical leave. So if you call him direct, you probably get his voicemail. That's why he's not calling you back. So you may have to call his boss.
Yep.
So
Thank you.
You know his boss? Who he is?
Find out.
Okay.
Concord. And
Anybody? Do you have any need for non-public?
I think so. Again, health officer thing, there was something that came up there. I need to talk to you guys.
Okay,
And there's no other reputation, it's private citizen.
okay, make a motion to go in the non-public, for RSA 91A32A.
I always keep it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, wouldn't be A. reputation.
8:3:2 C.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Who seconded it?
All right. Okay.
Closing in, no, man, closing in. Take care.
See ya.
See you,
Good night,
Steve.
everybody. Take
Night,
care.
Steve.
We unplugged Audrey.
Motion to come out of non-public. Second. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye.
I had one thing I forgot to say. As people, if they have to rebuild, they still need to get a building permit for the damages of the storm. For example, if they had a shed or a garage that got damaged, they still need to get a building permit. Although Rebecca understands that she may ask you to waive that fee.
I'm wondering if you were non-public.
No, we just came out.
We were, we're out. Oh,
Just
just
came
came out.
out.
We're on public right now.
I just don't have access to.
You're on the camera. You want to wait 1 second? I don't know if they're getting ready to adjourn or, yeah. You want to seal the minutes?
Yeah. See, 12 months.
No, I just needed to get it posted to you, but I'll just hand my letter to Audrey and work her overtime on it.
Well,
Rather than.
anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion. Or-
Second it. All those in favor, say
Aye.
aye.
I need to go buy some more stamps so that I can